And our group chose this to focus on a health project outside of the country because it is a big problem and it is something that can easily be fixed with the community, bringing awareness to it and implementing simple and cheap tools. So the problem we're identifying is the flood of trash falling into the Las Vacas River in Guatemala. And we actually were able to find out that the local community seemed to just throw all of the trash leaking. So they throw trash and then they have a dump nearby. And so all of this is able to actually leak poison and chemicals into the land from the landfill in Guatemala City, spilling into the water. The evidence we are studying shows that this is a crisis more than in one country because it does connect to, I'm not sure, does anyone know how to say that? Motagua?
Agua.
Motagua River that eventually leads to the Gulf of Honduras. The communities use this, and this is why we figured it was something that we could change and that we wanted to change, because the communities actually use this for cleaning, bathing, and cooking. And so we wanted to focus on creating tools and education to help the people clean the river to make it more useful. And I forgot to introduce our group. So in slide 1, you'll see that my name is Madeline, and then we have Mark, and then we have Katrina. And so we're all just going to go through these slides and kind of show you what we've learned. And so if we go to slide 3, you're able to see part of the dump of how it is mixed into the river. And we were also able to learn how people, they'll play in it, they'll work in it, and so just everything's getting mixed into the water and into their lives, and obviously that is a health hazard. Katrina, did you have anything to add on to any of these slides?
Yeah. Well, Guatemala itself, it's like 56% of the population lives below the poverty line, and I think 81% are indigenous communities. Diarrhea kills more than 1.5 million people each year. So the clean water source is important for these people to stay healthy and to prevent the diseases. Education is limited, especially in the indigenous population, so they know very little about how diseases are transmitted and the techniques to prevent these health problems.
Yeah, and I loved that that was some of the information that we were able to find out, just because that is why we were implementing this project, and something that wasn't going to be where education level, a very strong education level was needed. If you go to slide 4, you're going to see the overview of our intervention. And so we learned a lot about what happens when plastic and trash gets leaked into water and how that affects the community. So we use simple tasks, or we believe that these simple tasks could be implemented in the community of Guatemala by just focusing on taking trash out and avoiding trash going back into the river. So with me saying that the dump is near the river, we wanted to move the dump and create containing walls so it's not as easy for things to actually fall in. And then we're going to be doing simple creating awareness with education, but the education was basically bringing awareness to people with signs that explain why you shouldn't put trash in the water and the negative impact that it's having, because that is how that's going to change in the community, is if people are aware. And then the main tool we were going to use was we were going to place a net to catch the trash. Okay, and then Katrina, did you want to talk more about, you kind of explained why it's a problem, but if you just wanted to hit on the slide again.
On slide number 5.
Yeah, sorry.
So, yeah, it's a major outlet for Guatemala City for the raw sewage, and it's highly polluted, and and they contain, this net that we're talking about is more of a surface net that's going to a deep net, so it doesn't interfere with the marine ecosystem there. It's this trash is blocking parts of Las Vacas River, so it can cause flooding in the surrounding areas and communities, which spread disease. Um,
Yeah, that was one of the things that I wanted to focus on is how why we needed to move the dump or create barrier walls, because they talked about how when it's raining season, no matter what, if they clean it up, the rains come, the floods come, and it basically just pushes the trash in. And then when it floods, it's going to come into the cities and come into the villages. And that's when all the disease is going to kind of take over. So it's kind of like a cycle that is never ending with this trash piling up, because there wasn't really any beating it until somebody gets in there and starts taking it out or removing it.
Real quick, I lost connection, and so that's why the presentation dropped, but I'm back. And while I have the floor, add in the fact that another cause of death for people in the community is because people go trash picking, and then with the floodwaters and the mudslides, it's actually adds to the death toll. So by cleaning that up, we remove people from hazardous areas as well.
Yeah, great. That's Mark. So this goes more back towards our intervention on slide 6. And so we were able to learn that it is archaeological region. So there is a lot of history there. But like we said, it's an important source for the living residents. And so the first thing we wanted to do was focus on getting that trash out of there. And so that's when the water net was going to be implemented, just because if we go, I'm just going to jump to slide 7. I believe I can show you what the net looks like. So yeah, so the net is, both of us have seen it. And then if we go, yeah, so the net we've seen in lakes, we've seen in the oceans, and usually in the U.S. that's for, keeping like animals out and having like the distance of where we should be at for humans of when we're swimming. And so they were able to find in different countries how this was an easy source of water getting through, but collecting the trash and not affecting the wildlife and the fish and everything that's inside of there. And we really like this as a group because it's something cheap. We were going back and forth through new technologies that are used in the country, but there was going to be a lot more of mechanical work, and there's not as much background or facts that it really does help with cleaning trash. A lot of us see the trash. It's like a trash collector on Facebook, and it's like a bucket that sucks in the trash. But when we started looking into that, you were going to have to be a little bit more of a mechanic to have to create that. So this net is a simple fishing net, and then they just use those floaties to keep it up. It'll go across the river, collect the trash, and then you're able to just pull it back in. And so that was going to be a cheap and fast way to be able to get the trash out. And then the second intervention was going to be education. And so this is when we said it's not like the education level was super high all over in Guatemala. And so we were going to implement signs and workshops and new jobs. But Katrina was the one who actually saw this out of the country. And so you want to share what you learned by that and just how that influenced you?
Yeah, so there's a sign that runs along the coastline of Mexico, around the Sea of Cortez, where they have in the last year or last few years started to conserve the animal and the wildlife there. I know they have like a bird sanctuary, and they have like a dolphin something or other, and so they started implementing signs that show that human waste should not be dumped, that beverages like glass and plastic bottles and all sorts of garbage should be collected and dumped properly. And the other sign was food that is sometimes we don't think is harmful that is dumped into our oceans. And so these signs are posted all throughout just along the coastline. And I think it has helped people be a little bit more aware. They also have placed containers in just different places next to those signs so that people can dispose of their garbage.
Yes, and I loved when Katrina brought that to our group because it was something that she said, like it stuck in her head. And so just by that little sign, how it brought awareness. And so those little things can be implemented outside of the country to bring awareness to what is going on and how they can change it. And then the third will be moving the dump. And so that is going to be something we talk a little bit more later. But we feel that this could be something that the community can get started, the government, but then we also talked about how eco groups and college internships, there's a lot that goes on out of the country and how these are things that could be easily implemented through that. And then I just want to go to slide 7 and just show you one more time the net. And so yes, so I just wanted to go over, it's just going to catch the trash. It makes it really easy to take the trash out. Fish can go through it, and then very easy to move, and it's not expensive, and it's easy to see. And so it wasn't going to create any dangers with like what Mark said about people actually going and like collecting trash and like playing in that area. And then, yes, Mark, could you talk about the dump?
Oh, I would love to. All right, so moving the dump is a 3-phase operation. Phase 1, you have to move the dump site to a new location because the issue is the overflow. So the current dump isn't large enough to.
Okay, we might have lost Mark. He is in Germany, so I think we did just lose him. Katrina, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can't hear him.
Okay.
But I think he was saying that moving the dump takes like 3 phases. So phase number 1 is moving the dump site to a new location. Phase 2 would be cleaning out the ravines and water spillways. And phase 3 would be erecting cement walls around the outskirts of the existing dumps. We do have to, Mark, read back.
I was sharing my screen. I don't know if that was a good idea.
So Mark came up with a location that it's a little bit hard, but there's lots of pockets of land that are spread throughout the city that are in close proximity to river spillways.
Okay, Mark, are you back?
I'm back. Let me get the slideshow back up. I apologize. My browser keeps closing on me.
No, it's okay. We told them how you've had to work with us being out of the country yourself. So
I appreciate that. All right, so there's that. Not as neat. I went through a different browser this time, so hopefully I don't crash out on you again.
So go to phase 1.
Phase 1, moving the dump location. So there's some.
9.
Sorry. So there's number 9. Okay. So there are several sites throughout Guatemala City where this is actually a possibility to implement. This is the location that I chose specifically. I've got the coordinates in there. 1, because it's central and away from populations, and 2, it's away from any water sources. They have several little pockets like this, so really any one of them could work, and it could be future dump sites. But for now, they need a place to get started. There might be some deforestation required. There might not be. It's kind of hard to tell with not actually being on the ground. So the idea here would be to dig in a new landfill so trash can start being moved to this new dump site. And then phase 2 would be to start picking up the trash. You can see along the hillside in this picture, the trash is falling down into a ravine. And that's actually how it gets into the river. It falls into spillways. and then the spillways carry it into the actual river. So you clean out these ravines, and then we stop the flow of trash going into the river. The next, you have to put up a barrier around the outside of the hill, so that the trash that's there and hasn't fallen into the ravine won't. And then after you have your barrier up, the next, cover it with dirt, and whether that's done with dirt that's at the dump site or dirt that's taken from the new dump location, you're burying the trash so it can't go anywhere. And then phase 3, I already talked about that one, building the barrier. Ultimately, as dumps are dug and redug, the old dumps can be covered up, and same sort of system that we have in the United States. You can reforest it if you want, or turn it into community areas if need be. So it's something that can be repurposed and keeps the environment cleaner as a whole.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Mark. So yes, so we just kind of wanted to finish with going over some of the barriers. So we've already kind of mentioned these things, but we wanted something cheap, we wanted something easy to move, and then we had to keep in mind that it is the Mayan civilization that we were going to influence, and so make things easy and aware. And then we as a group, we really do believe that this could bring a change just because of the source that we picked out. So if you go to slide 13, no, sorry, is it slide 13 or I guess it's slide, I skipped all the way to slide 16 to kind of go over why we thought this could work, and it goes with our barriers. And so we really do think that this could change the disease being spread throughout the city, and not only kind of bring back what they're known for and the archaeological site, because right now it's being covered with trash. And so as a group, we really do think that this would be a beneficial out of the country health project to focus on. And then Katrina, did you have anything to add for 13 and 14?
Just that it takes effort, like a collaboration between like government and non-government organizations to eventually sustain the change that you're wanting to make. And it's small efforts and great efforts, from making the net to implementing change as far as like the dump site and how they dispose garbage and what the city can take, or, you know, even recycling. But awareness and education would also be helpful in sustaining change there in that area.
Yeah. Mark, did you have anything to kind of add to your closing statements, I guess?
No, I think we covered it all very nicely.
Okay, yeah. And I just wanted to end again with kind of like adding on to what Katrina said, is it is going to take more than just one person going and picking up trash, but that's why we felt it important to kind of give 3 different implementations to bring into this country, and the hope that they were all going to have a way for the community, the government, outsourcing to get involved in to change this health issue. And so, yeah, so that is all we have to say. Thank you.